Here you can see some of the playfield lamps in attract mode are locked on. And here's a still of some of those playfield lamps that are locked on. A Panthera MPU, which I'm testing in my Spider-Man right now, so I have a Spider-Man ROM in it. This board was locking on several lamp and possibly solenoid circuits, and the culprit there was Z32, a 7417. It's the one with the check mark on top of it. Also on this board, I added the loop of wire to defeat the ground switch. I see, or the slam switch. I see that somebody else has done something similar. That's redundant now. I have installed a super cap to retain memory settings. I have replaced the original 100 microfarad capacitor on the 5-volt input. I have socketed the 5101 so that the client can add NVRAM if they'd like. And somebody had added an LED to indicate power on, but they added it directly across the 5-volt and ground rail. And of course that's going to destroy the LED almost immediately. So I added a current limiting resistor in between, and this LED should work properly now. Let's see, I already tested the driver board, and Q15 was inoperative. So I've replaced that with a NOS part. I believe it was Q15, yeah. So lamp 16 on your Panthera should now operate correctly. So we're in attract mode in my Spider-Man, which I've seen a million times, and this is operating correctly. Before I replaced the 7417, a bunch of lamps were locked on, and I'll roll in a picture of that just before this video. So let's get into test. And the first test is lamp test. And it's going to click off the tilt relay twice, and then the GI relay twice, and the coin lockout relay twice. I know you can't hear those, but I can. My furnaces are, I'm sorry, my air conditioner's on. All our lamps are cycling as they are supposed to now. The next test is solenoid test. And you'll be able to hear these go. Now it skipped a few solenoids there. I'll rerun the test. It's going to skip 3 and 4. And then 7, those are coin counter solenoids. And that is always the case on Gottlieb System 80 MPUs. Test 18 is the switch matrix. Let me go across the diagonal of the switch matrix. And the switch matrix is operating correctly. I'm not going to press the 7 because that is the start test button. 19 is display test. And chiefly we want to make sure that all the ones are working correctly, and every other segment also, but the ones are driven differently on the MPU from every other digit. Well, it's been a while since I tested a System 80. I'm gonna have to get a camera stand for this. I'll let this go through all the 3s, and that'll show that all the segments, etc., are working. And they are. And the next test is test 20, and it should come up 99, and that's testing the memory. The other thing I did to this board, I forgot to mention, is it came, as Panthera originally did, with a ROM at each of these locations. Those are 2708s, and I have combined those ROM images into a single ROM that I'll put at the Prom 1 location. Somebody had socketed U2 and U3. That's not typical, and there's really no reason to do it unless U2 or U3 fails. But this board is now good to go. If you let it sit in attract mode long enough, it will go back to or I'm sorry, let it sit in test long enough, it'll go back to a track mode, which it has done. Thank you so much for sending it. And just for good measure, I have installed the Panthera ROM, and we can see that it is in a tracked mode.